Alright, so I know a lot of you have been enjoying the hell out of this brand new hover pack that we just received in Helldivers 2 in the most recent warbond, and honestly I've been enjoying it too because it's unlocked a whole new playstyle that I would have never expected, but it makes sense, right? I mean, you're hovering above every enemy on the battlefield and you're able to deal damage from a much higher elevation, so of course it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. So what I wanted to do in this video is I wanted to go over one of my favorite builds that I've come up with against the Terminid forces, more specifically centered around this hover pack, and honestly it's been a crap ton of fun and it is very, very effective overall. So we're going to be calling this build the Hovercraft build. Anyways, let's get into it. So jumping into our support option for this build is going to be, of course, the hover pack. This is the thing we're centering the whole build around. So the hover pack is brand new with the Borderline of Justice warbond, and how this works is you boost up in the air, and rather than you just jumping off in a direction like the base jump pack, you actually boost and you hover in the air for 6 seconds, and then after 6 seconds you slowly descend until you run out of fuel, and then you'll ultimately hit the ground, and a lot of times you'll be there before it runs out of fuel. But once you run out of fuel, it takes around 10 seconds or so for this to come back. If it's fully depleted, I feel like it's 12 seconds, but it's definitely 10 seconds on the baseline. And now the main things to keep in mind with this is you can move around while you're hovering. You're not just hovering in one spot, so you can literally just fly around like you're cheating in a Call of Duty video game. It's actually really crazy. And then one other thing is that the higher the elevation you are, the higher you'll be above the battlefield. So that comes with some side effects. If you are too high and you run out of fuel on the way down, you will fall to your death. So just be mindful of that. This has seriously, truly revolutionized what is possible in this game, because we've always been boots on the ground, and being straight up in the air and flying above the enemies has really opened up a whole new play style on all 3 fronts. Meaning that, of course, on the bugs, because there's nothing really to shoot at you, you're going to be able to deal a ton of damage to the various bug enemies. And on the other fronts too, it's very, very effective as well. You can do things while you're in the air, such as reload, you can call on stratagems, you can throw grenades, you can do just about anything you want. The only thing that's kind of bugged, and I'm not sure if it's a permanent thing, is you can't check your map, but you can do literally anything else, which is really cool. So there is one thing that I really hope they add in the future, and I feel like they will, is a way to manually cancel your hover, because right now as it works is once you start hovering, you're stuck in the air until your hover ends. So I hope that they give us the ability to manually cancel our hover, but outside of that, this thing is borderline perfect outside of a couple little nitpicky things. So a couple cool things of note is if you see gas or fire on the map, you can actually hover above them without taking any damage, which is a very effective strategy. If you're using things like gas mines or any type of strike that's dealing a lot of fire damage, you'll be pretty protected from it, so you can just hover above it for a period of time. You can also avoid some blast damage from strikes. I've been able to survive things like cluster bomb strikes and things like that from being just hovering above the ground. Now, I'm not saying this is always super consistent, but I have survived multiple cluster strikes when I've been in hover mode. So again, this build is going to center around us being in the air as much as humanly possible, and because the cooldown is so quick on this thing, we are going to be able to achieve that, but we are going to need some tools to be able to reach the ground and maximize this thing's potential. So jumping into the damage section, we have 2 damage items that we're going to be bringing in, and the one we're going to be using while we're in the air is the Torture Primary. So the Torture Primary is just great because it is a primary slot flamethrower that deals 375 damage per second and can penetrate heavy armor penetration. It is very, very good, and the great thing about it is that it's not as strong as the flamethrower, but it still has all the same penetration properties, meaning that we're going to be able to damage chargers and bile titans with this thing. And the best part about it is that in a normal situation, when you're just hovering above the ground, you're going to be able to reach the ground very effectively with the flamethrower, so you're going to be able to set the ground on fire or hit any targets that you would like. So I love it because, again, not only does it set the ground on fire, but we're going to be able to deal with those elite units like chargers and bile titans. So if we wanted to hover above a charger, we can hit it in the leg or the butt while we're hovering above it and kill it pretty quickly overall. And then if we need to finish off a bile titan or even kill a bile titan in a lot of cases, we can hover above them and hit them with the torture. It is just very, very effective overall. And just overall, it is just hilariously fun to just fly around in the air shooting this thing, and it's also even funnier to just see somebody doing it because it looks ridiculous to see somebody flying around with the flamethrower. It's absolutely ridiculous, but When we're not in the air, we are going to bring something in that's going to be able to help us with the ground combat, and that is going to be the Stalwart. So Stalwart is just a great light armor penetration support weapon. So basically this is going to deal 80 ballistic damage, again with light pen, and then it's going to have 250 rounds per magazine. And then we're going to crank this RPM up to 1150, so that way we can have some peak democratic goodness going out at all times. So unlike the other machine guns, it can actually be reloaded while you're on the run. So basically you can reload this in the air with the hover pack, which is great because if you, again, you can reload weapons, but you can't reload weapons that require you to take a knee. So this one is actually really good in this build. So despite the light armor pen, this thing absolutely chews through any light or medium armored units on the bug side very easily. If you shoot hive guards in the little fleshy area, they will die really fast. If you shoot any of the spewer enemies, they will die very fast when you shoot them in the sack area. Just in general, this thing is an absolute beast when it comes to just chewing through many of the bug forces. Now, the reason why I don't like using this in the air too much is because the ergo gets out of control, meaning that you're not going to have as much control of your weapon. It's going to go very slow side to side, and then overall it's not going to be as accurate, so it's kind of difficult to aim when you're in the air. Now, one thing you can do is you can hover in place, but it's not really a great strategy to hover in place with the hover pack because there's some enemies that can reach you, and we'll go over that in just a moment in the review section. But overall, this thing is going to be primarily boots on the ground, helping us deal with those enemies when we're not hovering in the air. And then one other side note is that this can actually work very effectively against the Shrieker enemies, whether you're on the ground or hovering up, because when you're hovering up, you're actually eye level with the Shriekers, and you can actually kill them very quickly, so that's very nice as well. So we're only going to bring in one crowd control item because that's all we could fit into this build, and that is going to be the gas mines. So the gas mines are just a great form of CC overall because basically these are going to be primarily for your breaches, assaulting the bug nest, and also choke points in the city. So these deal causistic damage, meaning that not only does this deal some damage over time, it also confuses the enemies when they're caught in the gas, which makes them lose control. And then these cover a very large area overall and have a very fast cooldown, so you're going to be able to use these quite often, which is great. So the overall strat that I liked with these gas mines is, yes, I used them when I was assaulting the nest and also when I was in the city areas to help me with choke points. But then I also liked using them when the breaches happen. So what I would do is I would throw out the mines, they would go out, and when they start exploding, I would just hover above the mines with my torture and just start flaming the ground, and it got this really awesome damage over a time effect going on, and then I was undamaged. And then if I fell down into the mines, I just healed through it and got out, and then by that time my hover pack was ready to go, and I just kept rinse and repeating until most of those enemies were dead. And then if there was any Bile Titans or things like that, I use my anti-tank options to help with that. But overall, the mines are just super effective, and the cooldown is very good overall. And honestly, I didn't really need much in terms of CC because I was in the air so much. That was almost a form of CC, so that's why I only decided to bring in the gas mines. And then one other side note with the gas mines that I like so much, unlike other mines, is that it doesn't kill your teammates. When they step on them, they'll just start taking the passive damage, which they can heal through and get out of very easily. So we're bringing in two forms of anti-tank, and that first one is going to be the 500 kg. So the 500 kg is going to be our Bile Titan anti-tank source. So basically, we're going to get two total of these with the ship upgrades, and this is going to be on a 108-second cooldown when we expend those two uses. And these are obviously going to be able to kill anything outside of a Bile Titan. So if you want to kill random enemies, if you want to destroy objectives, you want to throw these on breaches, or you want to kill chargers, it can kill pretty much any of these in one shot, which is very nice. But again, I like to save these for those Bile Titans because this is going to be able to kill most Bile Titans in one shot or get them very weak. And then one thing I also like is to keep these available for when we're assaulting those mega nests, whether in the cities or just out in the outer outskirts of the other environment, because there's always usually one Bile Titan spawner in there, and then this actually makes them go away very quickly. So what you can do, use the hover pack, glide up, look around for it, and then throw the 500 toward the Bile Titan spawner, and it will just go away. It's very effective overall with the hover pack. So just to tack onto that, the hover pack in general has actually gave this 500 a glow up because you can just hover, figure out where you want to throw it, and then throw it at whatever you want to do, and it's actually very effective. There's an obstacle in your way, you can throw over the obstacle, so that's actually very good as well. Our secondary source of anti-tank is going to be the thermite grenades. Now we need these because they're going to help us deal with the various charger variants, so they are limited. We only get 3 total of these, but they deal 2,000 damage upon explosion, and they can one-shot chargers to the face, as well as they can 2-shot Bile Titans when you stick them to the head. So the key thing is that you need to stick these to your enemies for them to be effective. So again, you're going to have 3 of these, so you're going to be pretty limited unless you find grenade boxes throughout the map or you call down resupplies. So you're going to want to make sure that you're trying to save these as much as possible. Now you can use these while you're in hover mode. It's just a little bit harder to aim with these things, so you got to keep that in mind. But the idea is that you should have 3 grenades, so that's 3 chargers that should be dead once you start getting good with these. And then with the impalers, I know it typically takes more than 1 to kill an impaler, even when they burrow their head into the ground and you stick them to their fleshy spots. So what I like to do is I like to stick them with the thermites, and then I like to use the torture to finish them off a lot of times, so that way I can conserve grenades. So overall, the thermite grenades are just very good, and I felt like it was a nice little secondary source of anti-tank for this build. So our main way of dealing with objectives is going to be the grenade pistol. This is strictly for dealing with the bug holes. You're going to have 6 total shots, so that's plenty of ammo to be able to deal with any situation, and this works incredibly well while you're hovering as well. So you're gonna be able to hover up and you can actually shoot the bug holes from a distance, which is just absolutely fantastic. So the grenade pistol is just very versatile, and you can use these to deal with some fewer enemies, but honestly we're gonna have so much damage it's not gonna really matter, so just save these strictly for those bug holes. The armor passive I decided to go with for this build is the medium extra padding armor passive. So this has been a really popular choice as of late because getting that extra armor protection against these Terminid forces, especially against these predator bugs or anything like that, has been really big because you can take more hits, and especially the medium one is very good because you can keep your mobility while having basically heavy armor, which is great. So that's the reason why I like the medium one, is because you can still stay quick on your feet while having heavy armor. And yeah, overall you can rock this yellow one I was wearing, or you can rock any of the default ones that we have, or even if you want to, you can try to rock the heavy one. But honestly, I felt like that medium one was the sweet spot because we had heavy armor while still being light on our feet, like I mentioned. All right, so I want to talk to you about how to play this build, because there's some nuances that you need to understand before you just go diving in and going crazy with this thing. So everything centers around, once again, being in the air as much as humanly possible, and this is achieved because this hover pack has such a quick cooldown of only 10 seconds, and then you're going to be able to just be as up in the air as much as possible. So while you're in the air, you're going to be using the torture as your primary source of damage, just raining down hell on all the enemies below you. And the only couple of enemies that can damage you while you're in the air are the pouncers, the hunters, the shriekers, and the bile spit from either the bile titans or even the bile spewers. So those are the only things that really are a threat to you when you're in the air, but you can easily bypass them by just either hovering backwards or hovering to the left. Is what I felt like was the most effective strategy, was hovering to the left, and they just seemed to just jump past me, so it was very easy to avoid the damage from them. And then bile titans, again, you just hover to the left and he'll miss you, and you'll just keep spraying in the general direction. You can just keep hitting him with your torture until he dies. So overall, it was like the hover pack was just such a really effective strategy just to avoid damage overall. And yeah, once you get good at it, you're going to be able to survive a lot of situations that you normally wouldn't. Another key thing with the hover pack and the torture combo is that you want to be torching the ground as much as possible. So an effective strategy, again, is to be going backwards and just torching the ground, so that way all the cannon fodder will die. And then the other thing too is with the bile titans and the chargers, the best way to kill them with the torture specifically is to impact the same spot as much as possible, meaning that if you start hitting the back leg or the butt of a charger, keep hitting that area because that's going to make them die the fastest. Same thing with the bile titans. If you hit them in the body or in the undercarriage or something like that, keep hitting that area and they will die the fastest that way. So again, this is not as powerful as the base flamethrower stratagem, so you're gonna have to keep that in mind. So it's gonna take you a little bit more ammo to be able to kill some of these elite units if you want to, but overall, it's just great that even a primary can do that in the first place. So this is just very good for that. So as for the rest of the build, you're going to be really relying heavily on the Stalwart for horde clearing. This is going to be great because it's going to eliminate enemies so quickly. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't matter what their armor level is in terms of medium, because you can circumvent that by just circling around or hovering around above them or whatever. So it's just very easy to take out every unit up to that charger level. But if a charger or a bile titan has some exposed flesh, meaning their armor plate is destroyed on their leg or their back or something like that, in a bile titan's case, you can hover above and shoot them with the Stalwart and kill them with this thing. So that's also an effective strategy as well. But yeah, this thing is going to be definitely great for us when we're actually horde clearing all those enemies. So as for the gas mines, once again, I just wanted to reemphasize, you're going to be using this primarily for breaches. That's going to be your biggest use case for these things, because when those bug breaches happen, you want to try to have a gas mine available if possible, because this is going to make those breaches so much easier. You can hover above these gas mines with the hover pack torture combination, or you can throw 500 kgs in there, or if your allies are running with you, they can throw stuff as well. So that's just going to unlock a whole new type of playstyle for you and your team to be able to have these gas mines going in and plugging up those breaches whenever they do happen. And then one last reminder for the 500 kg, because I see a lot of people kind of misunderstand this, is that the 500 kg, just a reminder, comes from behind you. So depending on where you're looking, that's where the 500 kg is going to come from behind you when you call it in. So angling matters. So if you have a mountain or something like that, you need to be mindful of that, because this thing's going to come behind you and then hit whatever's behind you. So just be mindful of that. And then you want to also time when the enemy's going to come in. Sometimes you could shoot them and distract them and have them go in a circle, so that way they can kind of hover in an area for a while. So that's just an effective strategy as well. But yeah, the cool thing is if you don't necessarily kill the Bile Titan, because I know the 500 kg can have some issues with not killing the Bile Titan every time, you can just finish them off with the flank with a torture. So what I would do is, if it didn't die, I would just go hover near the Bile Titan and just finish it off with the torture, and it would die very quickly, or I would just kill it while I'm on the ground, whatever matters. But the best thing about this thing is that it's going to be able to at least do heavy damage to the Bile Titans at the bare minimum. And then again, one final reminder, just make sure you at least have one of these when you're assaulting that those mega nests, because this is going to make taking out those Bile Titan spawners so much easier, and also going to be able to kill a lot of enemies in the process. So overall, this whole build is going to work well because of the 500 kg and the hover pack. So you really want to make sure you're utilizing those tools as effectively as possible. But all right, guys, that's my hovercraft build for you. I really would love to know what build you guys are cooking up for all the various factions, because I know you guys are really creating some awesome builds out there for this new hover pack. So definitely let me know what you guys are coming up with down in the comments below. And if you want to hear about all my thoughts on the warbond, I did make a video that you're going to see on screen right now if you want to see my overall thoughts on everything in the warbond so far. Anyways, guys, I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.